How are we doing tonight? And welcome to the third episode of the Big Blue Bodega. We're here to give our reactions about the Giants' schedule. It came out over the weekend. We took some days to look at it, examine every roster, every week, every position. We were watching some tape. Maybe we didn't go that deep, but we are here excited to give to you guys a great episode. Jake, how you doing tonight, bud?
I'm doing fantastic. I've had a lovely dinner. I'm excited to be here, excited to talk Giants. Not so much is going on in the NFL right now. It's been pretty quiet. So I'm anxious for this year, man. I'm anxious to see OTAs and what we got going on.
Yeah, man, it's been a quiet moment for the NFL. It's that weird time between draft and then the off season. Well, like training camp starting. We got rookie mini camps happening. We'll talk a little bit about that towards the end of the show. But yeah, man, I'm always excited to talk about my New York Giants, and with the schedule dropping, what better other moment to talk about them? If you guys do want to hear us talk about the NFL, we are having Kenton Gibbs over at Bunts and Bruises on Thursday night. And me and Jake might take a little deeper overview of the entire NFL schedule and hottest games, easiest schedule, hardest schedule. We're going to figure it all out. But tomorrow as well, we should have 2 weeks, 2 episodes this week of Bunts and Bruises. Keep your eyes open for that. But without further ado, man, let's just get right into it. So the Giants schedule released, and before we really dive deep into it, Jake, what was your immediate reactions when you saw the schedule?
This schedule is a curse. Now
that?
Some people might say it's a blessing. To me, it's a very easy schedule. Which in this start of rebuild is awesome. Like, you want to win games, but at this stage right now, we still aren't really certain of Daniel Jones' future. And I feel like getting probably the best possible draft pick, not tanking, but I think getting the best possible draft pick would be ideal for us. And with this schedule, playing the Lions, the Texans, Washington twice, playing the Panthers and the Bears, Seattle and Jacksonville, I'm not saying we're making the playoffs or going to be in any sort of the hunt, but we could win some games here to push us back to the 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th pick instead of that top 5 range where we ideally want to be next season.
Yeah, I mean, just looking at the first 4 weeks of the schedule, we got Titans, Panthers, Cowboys, Bears. The Giants, I'm not saying realistically, but it is a possibility. It's not out of the realm of craziness where they could come out 3-1 out of the first 4 weeks. I'm not saying I personally don't think it's going to happen. I think at best we get out of there 2-2. That's at best. More like 1-3, if not all 4 losses, But I get what you're saying now about the curse. You had me a little thrown off, but you're right. I do want another high draft pick, essentially, because like we've been saying the last couple episodes, in episode 2 after the draft and episode 1 before the draft, we're really just building the foundation here. So we get another high draft pick to add on to this foundation that Joe Shane is building, and it's going to be perfect to his vision. He has his blueprint here now, and now he's going to have his, as I said last episode, his scouting department in there where he could have an actual, not that this wasn't his first actual draft, but an actual draft with information and data he trusts, which is why it seems like he had to reach for a couple guys because, as we always mention, he's using that Bills draft board that they had from this season, which I'm not against at all when you're a world-class organization like that. Well, world-class is strong, but when you're a very good organization like they've been the past couple of years, especially now with the rise of Josh Allen, you go with the good squad. So let's go ahead and put the schedule up here for the fans real quick, and we're just going to go week by week, man. Before I do show the schedule, what do you have them going overall?
3-14.
3-14, I like that. That's realistic. I've seen it in some Giants communities, some Twitter pages here, Twitter pages there. Some Giants fans think we could win like 7-8 games.
Yeah, I've seen that trend. I've seen that trend kind of coming about of the Giants winning upwards of 7 to 8 games. I don't see it. This easy schedule, don't get me wrong, we could win some games here. We had a late Minnesota game. We have a late Philly game. That might not mean anything if they're, depending where they are on their playoff race. Like I said, coming back and playing the Lions and the Texans back-to-back and Seattle and Jacksonville, like, these are winnable games. These aren't great teams. We play the Texans, the Lions, and the Jaguars, all who had better picks than us this year, all who had worse records last year. So these are a lot of winnable games here. And that's I feel like I see that, but I just don't know if we're there yet, and that's why I'm more realistic with I think 3-14. But there are a lot of games that could go hit or miss or either way.
I got them actually at 4-13. 4-13, is that math right? Yeah, four and
Yeah.
13. Where I agree with you. There are a lot of winnable games, but like I've been saying the past couple episodes, I want to see more losses, and I believe, like you said, this team we're not there yet, so we're going to see a lot of those losses. But those losses are going to be competitive losses, which is why I'm trending more towards with you the lower number of wins compared to some of these optimistic fans. Which I get the optimism, but you know I fell for it last year. I fell for it back in 2016 when we got spanked by the Packers in the playoffs. I'm coming here with clear eyes now, and I understand it's going to take a while before we actually see some results. And now that's fine. I'm here for the growth. But without further ado, let's just start knocking this out week by week. So here we are. We got the schedule up on the board. So week 1, we are at Nashville, Tennessee versus the Titans. Now, Jake, tell me, is this one of those games you have us winning?
No, this would open up with a loss. I know there's a lot of drama right now at Tennessee with Malik Willis and kind of his uncertain future, or Ryan Tannehill's uncertain future, and what Malik Willis kind of brings to that team. But I mean, they're a better team than us. Even if they do trade AJ Brown, they still have Derrick Henry. They still have a good running game even without him. So they have a great team. They have a pretty solid defense. I think we'll get pummeled week 1.
Oof, you think pummeled? See, here's
Pummeled.
the thing.
I mean, continue, please.
I think it's going to be a close game. I can see it going either way. I understand why you're saying we're going to lose because, I mean, hey, the Titans won their division. They were the number 1 seed in the AFC last year. But like you said, there is some things going on. And aside from that, you lost A.J. Brown. So the passing game isn't going to be as good as it was. You released Julio Jones as well. Yes, you got Derrick Henry, but with as many carries, as much mileage he got, it's been now this year and moving forward, it's the eyebrows up. It's like, is this going to be the year that Derrick Henry falls off a cliff? And aside from all that, I feel like the Titans, because they're week 1, this is the team. This is the week anybody can win, no matter what. Even if you're the worst team in the league, you can end up being the best team in the league because this is the only team's film you've been watching for literally like the last 4 weeks, if that, if not more. And aside from that, it's, we got a lot of steam moving forward right now. So I feel like maybe it's just the social media team for the Giants doing a great job, but it feels like there's a little something different going on in there. So maybe they can squeak out a win, but I totally get why you're giving a loss. I actually have them winning this one just because we have the pass rush built and upgrade better, where that's going to go against Ryan Tannehill. And we got our defensive tackles in Leonard Williams and Dexter Lawrence right there to anchor it down for Derrick Henry. You can't stop him, but you can slow him down a bit.
Yeah, I'm more worried about kind of our offense and how we're going to scheme out. Jones is now the new offense coordinator, and the whole offense. He now has a lot of weapons and a lot better line. But I just think because it's going to be earlier in the season, this isn't a winnable game for us. Because I don't think they'll. I mean, I hope they understand the playbooks at this point, understand their scheming. But it is a new scheme and a new offense, so I think the learning curve will still be there for them, and that's why I honestly expect to get blown out. I expect our defense and offense to kind of be all over the place.
All righty, so can't be mad at that. So you got 1 L for us. I got 1 W for us. What do you think about week 2 against Carolina? How you feeling about that one? You feeling a little better for us?
Unfortunately, not. I wish I can.
They don't even got a quarterback.
I wish I could say yeah. You know what I mean? I remember so many. It pains me to say this, but I remember when so many Jeff fans said, "Oh, we should have taken Sam Darnold over Saquon Barkley." You know what I mean? And now we're gonna face him, and he's probably gonna beat us again.
We might not even face him. It could be Matt Corral for all we know.
Yeah, who knows? Yeah, absolutely. But I think Sam Darnold will be the starter there week 2. And if I think they're decent enough, Christian McCaffrey is healthy to kind of run all over our defense. So it'll be interesting to see. But I have this up as another loss as well.
I agree with you. I got this as a loss. The main reason between this is, yes, the Titans are a better team, and, we are playing Carolina at home. But the way I see it is we're winning one of these 2 games. If we're not beating the Titans, we're going to end up coming back and beating the Panthers at home. It's a season opener at home, slight chance. And like I just said, we don't know who their quarterback is. I honestly feel like that week 1 that we're going to come out real hot and then kind of get grounded back to reality when Christian McCaffrey puts the whooping on us. But hey, it could go either way. So I'm gonna go ahead and give us the L. Now that brings us to week 3. Monday night football against the Dallas Cowboys. For the first time, it's going to be on ESPN too. That's the crazy part. I'm not used to that. We're still getting Troy and Buck though, so that's the good thing. I'll go first for this one. I'm sure you agree with me. I'm giving them an L on this. Just they're the best team in the division. Let's just say facts. They got the best quarterback in the division. Offensively, we're nowhere near them. Defensively, they arguably got better this year, depending who you ask. They did tighten up that middle of the field. Secondary is still a little iffy, but hey, well, you got Diggs actually, so I'm just giving them the W. What about you? I mean, the L. What about you, bud?
I'm going to go with an early L here for the Cowboys. Like you said, they are the best. They're the team to beat in this division until they get knocked off. For most likely maybe by the Phillies if Jalen Hurts takes that step. But the Cowboys are the team to dethrone in our division, and I expect an ass whooping here. That's
nothing but a good old can of ass.
yeah, right. As Bobby Boucher would say.
All righty, so that brings us to week 4, which you got 3 wins, Jake. I'm expecting one of them to pop up soon, and I'm thinking it's going to be here. Am I right?
Yes, you are, man. Week 4 against the Bears. I can't think of another team that has less talent than us, and that has been ran worse coaching-wise than we have. So I am going to chalk it up as a win here. I don't think they did anything for Justin Fields offensively to give him any weapons or any help in this year. So, and their defense is a question mark. Eddie Jackson's a great player, but that's about all they have. So this is a win in my book. I think this is also a big win with Green Bay and Baltimore coming up. And those are 2 tough losses that you're definitely going to take. So I think this is a huge this is a must win for the New York Giants and Daniel Jones.
My favorite part is those are 2 tough losses you're definitely going to take. There's no way around it. So this is actually where I get my second win from in Chicago. As you said, there's been almost no organization as poorly run as us except the Chicago Bears. Like you said, they haven't done anything to help Justin Fields. They just got rid of Khalil Mack as well, so that buys us some more time. And correct me if I'm wrong, didn't we play the Bears recently? Was it last year, 2 years ago?
Yeah, I believe we played them last season.
Yeah, we won that game. No,
I believe so. We had their picks. I would hope
if we lost, it was definitely because Jones was out. But regardless, it was a close game still because
that might have been a Glennon game.
Yeah, I think it was one of his first games, so probably did lose that one. But it was a close game. I do remember that actually because Daryl Mooney caught it right at the. Yep, I remember. Don't worry, that was an L. But either way, this time we're avenging ourselves. We're getting a W there at home against Chicago. Another 1 p.m. game, so it's good. And like you said, it's great to get this win out because the next week we travel to London. Then the week after that we have the Ravens, which I gotta agree with you. Those are 2 easy L's. Do you want to go more in detail about those L's, or it is what it is? Let's just move on.
I mean, a little bit of detail. Both those teams got significantly better this offseason. They're already
arguable. You think Packers got a lot better?
I wouldn't say a lot, but they both had very strong draft classes. They had decent off seasons. But these are 2 teams that are leaps and bounds better than us, and these should be blowouts. If they're not, it's really showing that Baltimore and Green Bay still need some work to do. But these are 2 losses in my book.
Yeah, I think in London it's definitely going to be a blowout. I don't see how Baltimore doesn't have a blowout, like you said. Just that they got so much better, in my opinion. Aside from trading Hollywood Brown, they had one of the best drafts, as we said, in Blunts and Bruises with couch coach and Gene. They had. If you look at the Baltimore Ravens, it makes you feel good about what the Giants did in this draft because it was 6 fourth-round picks, I think it was, we said.
Yeah, I believe so.
And so in total, they had almost just about as many draft picks as us. We had 11. I believe they might have had 9, 8, somewhere around there. No, it might be even more. It might be 10. But they had a deep draft to build that depth because they, as you saw last year, they have a great team, but that depth was lacking a little bit because once those first-string starters were going, you know what? You can't even really blame the depth because people were stepping up, and then those second stringers were getting hurt. The third stringers were getting hurt. So Baltimore made a great move in just adding more depth, and even the prospective pick in round 2 of David Ojabo as well. So great pick, and it makes me feel good about the way the Giants drafted this year. So This one's a little bit tricky, Jake. I'm curious if you have us as a L or a W here. I'm gonna say before you give us, I'm gonna take this as you have us as an L for some reason. I feel it.
I do have us as an L.
Okay.
And this is on the sole belief that I believe Trevor Lawrence takes a step this year, a pretty big step, which is, I mean, they give him a better line. They give him some receivers now. He'll get Travis Etienne, his college teammate, college running back coming back. I don't think the Jaguars will be leaps and betters than us, but I think they'll be just good enough. And I expect a big leap from Lawrence this year. And I think that's what's ultimately going to lead us to this L for us. But at this point, this is a good loss, I think, in my opinion.
I think it's going to be a close game. I agree with you. This is an L for us as well. The way I see it is they just got the better quarterback. It's as simple as that. If you look both of our teams, talent-wise, we might have the slightly better talent team, but when you have, you have Trevor Lawrence, who was the number one pick last year and top prospect. Even in college, people were saying future Hall of Famer. Now you're adding a Super Bowl winning coach in that, and Doug Peterson is not Doug Peterson's first rodeo against us. He was in our division, played against us 2 times a year every year. So he knows how this team works. Even if it is a new coaching staff, there's still some of the same pieces there from when he was a coach against us. So I do have them taking the L against the Jaguars. I am hoping it is a competitive game, though. If this game could be, almost like a quarterback shootout, I would feel.
I was about to say a 42-38 kind of loss.
I'd feel great about DJ, to be honest. Week 7, this is kind of really where you want to start seeing if DJ is the guy or not. Because at this point, week 7, 8, we got the bye coming up in week 9 here. I'm going to say if DJ doesn't show that he's the guy by week 8, 9, you're going to see Tyrod Taylor starting for your New York Giants because you're going to want to give him that extra week right before the Houston Texans. But before we get to that, we have one of the few teams here who might have a quarterback like actually worse than ours, like confirmed worse than ours, which shocks me. This is where I'm putting my third win on the list. I'm not sure about you, but when I look at this team, the Seahawks, they're where we were last year, 2 years ago. They're on the way trending down. They haven't hit rock bottom yet. They're almost there now with the trade of Russell Wilson to the Denver Broncos. But they're still got some pieces, and you've already heard rumors pre-draft that some of those pieces might go. So it seems like a team that's looking to tank. It's unfortunate they didn't have their pick from the Jamal Adams trade. Because they really would have loved that taking a quarterback or one of these higher tier players in top 5. Other than that, though, Jake, what do you have? Is this your second W?
This is my second W. This is my second W right here. It has to be. There is no team in football that got worse this offseason than the Seattle Seahawks. They have detrimentally gotten worse. So like I said, the poor quarterback play to a very giant question mark all over your defense. I think this should be an easy win for the Giants.
For sure. So then after that, we got a nice little bye in week 9. This is what I'm gonna call this the Tyrod week. This is where we find out it's the Mendoza line, basically. It's like batting 200 in baseball. It's either this is where Daniel Jones is gonna show us, hey, we're gonna extend you, or hey, kid, we wish you best of luck. Don't let the door hit you.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think they'll figure it out within these 4 games of the Jacksonville, Seattle, Houston, and Detroit. They'll be able to tell if Daniel Jones is really the guy. You know what I mean?
Honestly, like I said, man, if by this week he's not the guy, I say you might just put Tyrod there because Tyrod, you can work your offense, train all the other players around that are actually going to stick around. So that way for next year, they're better well put. And also, hey, if you don't think Tyrod's going to really be the changing factor to win you games, why not have a veteran quarterback there to work with those offensive pieces so they know better for next year? I, for one, did we already say Houston, Texas is a W? No,
we haven't talked about it.
Well, I'm saying it right now. Houston, Texas, week 9. We're coming off a bye. Like I said, I expect Tyrod Taylor. That's right. James Barcia expect Tyrod Taylor very well to be the starting quarterback by week 10, and he is going to play against the Houston Texans, and this is where we are going to get our fourth W because just like the Chicago Bears, there has been only one other team, so two only other teams that have been managed worse than us, and Houston Texans is one of them. Uh, they weren't as bad as they were last year, and their draft was decent compared to past drafts. So maybe they end up a little better, but I think we're just about evenly matched because you really don't know what Davis Mills got. Hey, maybe the kid pops up out of nowhere, but I got us winning this one.
I have us winning this one also. The other team I definitely got better this offseason. I don't know how much better they were. I thought their draft was sketchy at best. I am. I think Daniel Jones shows enough promise in this Seattle game and this Houston game for these two to be wins for them to carry him out for a couple more games. And then I think Tyrod Taylor will ultimately replace him. I don't believe Daniel Jones is that guy. No matter what they do for this offense, I don't believe he's a good quarterback in the NFL. I believe he's going to be a long-time journeyman backup quarterback, and that's where I think he'll stay.
I think he's a really good backup. That's where I got him at. Just he's a really good backup, and there's some people where it's a couple inches, half an inch, where that's the difference. Either you're a great backup quarterback or you're a starter in the NFL. That's what they say in college. That's why a lot of quarterbacks don't pan out. So we move on to week 11. You're saying we have two W's for you. So by looks of the rest of the schedule, something tells me this would be your third and final win for the New York Giants.
The actual Houston was my
Wow.
third.
Oh, that was your third and final
Yes,
win?
I had the Bears.
I marked it down wrong. Man, I was just used to you saying we're losing everything, so I was just going L, 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 L.
Yeah, pretty much. I think Jared Goff's a better quarterback than Daniel Jones. I think it'll be another kind of quarterback shootout with the Jaguars, where ultimately I do think we'll lose. I think with Jameson Williams and Amon St. Brown, they'll have one of the more intriguing young wide receiver rooms that I'd love to see, and I love to watch this game just because I like the young talent on both sides. But I ultimately think this will be an L. I hope it's an L, to be honest. At this point in the season, you really need you're going to need as many losses as possible. You're not contending for a playoff spot. Even if, God forbid, they somehow slipped into a wild card spot, God forbid, they're going to lose in the first round. They're going to get pummeled. They're nowhere near even contending for a playoff spot or even being in the hunt. So this, I'm hoping it's a loss.
You know what, man? Just with the draft that the Detroit Lions have, I think they had a really good draft. They might not have the best draft, but they're definitely in the top 5, if not top 3 drafts of this year. I think we're the kneecaps, man. They're about to get bitten somewhere, and I think this is one of the weeks they get bitten. I think they're by far a better team than us, like you said. They got Jameson Williams, who I think is just going to make Jared Goff look like a stud. Jared Goff is going to look like Super Bowl Jared Goff, where Todd Gurley was the motor of that engine. Because Jameson Williams, he should have been the first quarterback off the board, regardless of ACL, as I've said previous episodes. But as you said, man, Detroit, I think it's going to be a close game. Hopefully, we see another shootout. It's questionable because it's Jared Goff, but this is one of those. Hopefully, it's a competitive loss. Now, here normally Giants fans, we always like to give ourselves one when it's against the Cowboys or the Eagles or Washington, and we got all 3 of them coming up in these next 3 weeks. And as we've said, it's no question where we got us. We got 3 losses right here. I just wanted to point out an interesting fact. I'm not sure if you checked out, Jake, but did you know out of the 5 easiest schedules in the top 5, 5 worst, usually goes to the worst teams, but sometimes you get unlucky or lucky. The 4 teams out of the top 5 with the easiest schedule, the entire NFC East. We are tied with, I think it's the Cowboys, Washington for the easiest schedule, and Philadelphia Eagles have like a slightly harder schedule by like 0.01 or something like that win percentage. We all have the easy. So the Lions are the easiest schedule out of the whole NFL, and then the 4 of us all have slightly harder schedules than the Lions.
I didn't see that. That is That's remarkable for the NFC East. You know what I mean?
I mean,
Who likes it that
it's
much?
it's more. It just shows us how little we are. We are the NFC least. There's nothing else you can do about it. It's a bloodbath out here. And the funny part is the records are still going to look ugly because you know what? We could both be wrong. Where the games we thought we were going to win, we end up losses, and we do end up trading one of these wins with the division team because it's the NFC East, man. Anything can happen. So, like you said, this is going to be a playoff kind of either they're in or they're out kind of week. We could ruin some playoff chances here for teams through this 3 week stretch. Is there anything really you want to see stand out or anything that really we should keep an eye open for? Because we're coming towards the part of the season, like you said, we just want some L's to get a higher pick if we're not looking good.
I mean, by this time, we'll kind of know where our future stands with Saquon Barkley and Daniel Jones. That's what I think is gonna be the biggest tell all. We'll see if Kenny Galladay can catch a touchdown this year. That'd be awesome. But we'll see kind of where our defense is going to be and who's going to step up in the secondary and actually be a piece for the future and not just a kind of a stopgap veteran or a backup. I like you said, I would like to see some really like hard fought games for these like division games, even if they are losses. I like to just see a better offensive scheme, better offensive play calling, just better 2-minute drills, down the field. I know I've seen a lot in rookie camp in the beginning of these OTAs that they've really been practicing their red zone, their red zone work. So that's a huge, I think, step forward because you're really not supposed to be thinking of kind of like what the last year's team did or with the last coaching staff. So to really pay attention to detail and really focus on what they weren't good at last year and try to improve it on this year, I think is something to kind of watch out for. But overall, I think this is going to be the biggest telltale time for Saquon Barkley and Daniel Jones. You'll know at this point what they're kind of going to be doing for the future.
Oh, for sure. I'm just hoping Saquon doesn't end up like a James Bradbury situation where we can't trade him to get something, or
Yeah,
we just end up cutting him. Which I would get it. It's just I'd like to see a little something. That's all I'm asking. Can a man dream? So we move on after those 3 weeks. Week 15, we see Washington again after playing the Eagles. Why do I always feel like they do that with us? Where with Washington, it's we played them 1 week and then we play someone else, and then the very next week we play Washington again. I feel like it's an ongoing thing every season with the Commanders.
Yeah, I honestly don't like how the schedule is kind of built out with all of our division games coming at the end of the year. You know what I mean? These are all hard fought games. Like a lot of like you're playing a lot harder. I don't want to say a lot harder, but you're playing a little more harder and a little more edge in these games than other games. So to force kind of the risk of injuries kind of at an all-time high when playing a division game, in my opinion. So it kind of sucks that they're going to be four back to back to back. You know what I mean? And you're going from Dallas to play 2 games at home and back to Washington. You know what I mean? So it's going to be an interesting tell.
For sure. Like you said, I don't like these back-to-back late division games because, as we just said previously, these are gonna be playoff deciding games for the rest of the division. Not us, but the rest of the division. It's gonna be playoff deciding games. So, our team might look at this like, hey, this is your playoffs. You want to ruin it? Go ruin it. And that's where these couple extra wins I could see Giants fans predicting us 7-8 come from. Like I said, they give us that one win between the 2 games of each division foe. If you did that for me right now, that would put me at 7 wins. That'd put you at 6. So I could see it, but that's they're just so much better than us, man. It's simple as we are just so far back in the division. But I don't like it either, but if there was ever a year it's going to happen, I want it to be this year to give us that high pick. So hopefully they don't play their hearts out like it's a playoff game. And hopefully, we do ruin some playoffs for the Cowboys or the Eagles. If the Commanders make it, whatever. They got a whack team anyway. They just got created. Who cares?
I mean, yeah, you're absolutely right. We definitely could sneak away a couple of these like late division games, like coming after losing to the Cowboys in Dallas. We'll probably be a little angry and potentially could play big week 13 versus Washington at home. That is a winnable game, depending if Carson Wentz can actually make the season, make it that deep into the year. Also, Philly week 18, depending kind of where they are in the standings or what they are doing, they might be resting a lot of players. Might be resting Jalen Hurts, so we could easily stick that one out as well. I don't see it happening. I hope it doesn't happen. So I do expect all the division games to be losses this year.
Oh, for sure. All right. So that brings us to our last 3 weeks. As we said, they're all L's. We end the year with our division foe in Philly. Hopefully this time they actually try and win the game, Aside from that, though, we are playing the Indianapolis Colts and the Minnesota Vikings. Vikings are in Minnesota. Colts are at home. I will say, I have them all marked, yes, as 3 L's in a row. But part of me feels like there's a slight chance we could squeeze one by the Indianapolis Colts. Call me crazy, but Matt Ryan, week 17, he's getting old. The arm starts getting a little fatigued. We saw the Colts lose to the number 1 pick in the draft this year when it was a playoff decided game. So I've seen crazier things happen. I do still have it as a L in my book, but the more I'm looking at the schedule, as I said, I see the optimism some Giants fans have. Just I'm not going to fall for that fool's gold.
Yeah, I mean, the Colts are they're like the most underachieving team in the NFL right now. You know what I mean? They have a team with loads of talent, a good running back, probably the best running back in the NFL right now. So they're very underachieving, especially late in the year. They're known to lose big games as of right now. So we can sneak that one, but I'd be more in tune to see us beat Minnesota at this one. I don't think Minnesota had got that much better. I think Kirk Cousins is a mediocre quarterback. I think Justin Jefferson's a great receiver, and Adam Thielen's a good player, but I don't see a lot going through that. I think their defense got worse, if anything. You know what I mean? So I think Minnesota could easily be a win. I hope it doesn't happen. Like I said, late in the year, I think they'll still kind of be in the hunt for a playoff spot because they have a weak bottom division. Same thing with the Colts. I think the Colts are going to be in a playoff hunt still. So, but the Minnesota at Tim Embiid be a more winnable game than Indianapolis. I think they're a far worse team than Indianapolis.
You're 100% right. I could totally see that as well because I forgot their secondary is looking a little shaky as well. But just that Justin Jefferson kid, bro, he's just
good thing he's not in Philly.
Yeah, exactly. See, the only reason I see Minnesota is I hold Kirk Cousins a slightly higher regard at the moment than Matt Ryan. I'm a big Matty Ice fan, but he's getting old, man. Let's be realistic.
Well, the thing with the Colts, they really don't have any receivers. Michael Pittman's good, but he's not a number 1 receiver. So we'll see what happens. Hopefully, I think they have Alec Pierce they drafted late. So
yeah. See, though, so speaking of Justin Jefferson and just how good he is, that brings me kind of to let's wrap it up now and bring it to rookie mini camps. That brings the one point I wanted to say the biggest thing that stood out to me at rookie minicamp was I was watching videos of every player coming in, going on the field, running, hey, how you doing, all that good stuff, and then I saw Flott. I forget his first name, but I saw Flott, the defensive back. There you go, Cordell. I didn't want to say Cordell, thinking I had it wrong. I've messed up names like 3 times this episode, but I saw Cordell Flott walking on the field, and man, is he skinny. He's like $160, and you could tell he's $160. Like I'm noticeably thicker, muscle wise and fat wise than him. He was a twig, dude. He is gonna get abused in this league if he can't. He said ideally he wants to add 5 to 10 pounds of muscle before the start of the season. He needs way more than that, man. I know he was a draft pick for future years, but sheesh.
Yeah, I remember reading the report. He's like 175 plus your 180, and I'm like, yeah, soaking wet with like 3 North Face jackets on. He's a light boy, you know what I mean? And I agree. He needs to put on like 20 pounds to be an actual cornerback in the NFL. Will he have some success? I think as a rookie playing in the slot, playing against those smaller receivers, maybe. Yeah, I hope we're gonna need it with the secondary. But man, he needs to put on some weight. I think I'm just as heavy as him. I could be 5 pounds, you know what I mean? And I am 5'8", and I'm not athletic, so.
At least he's tall, man. He's lengthy, so that's
6'1", got long arms too.
Yeah, that's what you want to see from your defensive backs. Speaking of people who are getting tall, Wandel Robinson, reports came out. He was measured in camp. In the combine, he was 5'8", but on Giants camp, he put on cleats. He was a tall growth spurt of 5'11". Yeah, man, he grew 3 inches magically. I have no idea how. Nobody knows. I think it's the cleats, like the NBA where Kevin Garnett was like 6'11", when realistically everyone's like, dude, you're like 6'3". I mean 7'3", but whatever.
Yeah,
So it's the teams can make the height whatever they want. But let me tell you, if Wandel Robinson, it's only 3 inches, but if Wandel Robinson is actually closer to 6 feet than not, that kind of changes, his position, I'd say a little bit. That's closer. He's closer towards the Darius Slayton side than he is towards the Sterling Shepard side. If you add those 3 inches.
yeah. I mean, from what I've read, he's had a good mini camp. He's had some good plays. I hope he does. I'm one of his biggest doubter right now, honestly. 'Cause I don't think drafting a gadget receiver in the second round was a great idea. But if he can be more than that, I mean, I heard him and Daniel Jones are establishing some sort of repertoire and a little bit of chemistry on the field. So that's awesome. That's great to hear. And I will love to put my money. Would love to be wrong about this. You know what I mean? I would love for him to be great, to be an asset. I don't see it happening. I don't see that value of a second round draft pick ever really panning out for him. But man, if he's 5'11" in cleats, you know what I mean? You got to take it. You got to take what you can get. But I saw a report. I remember one of the reporters asked. I thought it was a really stupid question. They're like, "Would you be willing to take on the Tyreek Hill role in this offense?" And I'm like, "Oh, would he be willing to take on the number one role in an offense?" And I was like, "What? And get 90 targets a year? Yeah, obviously he'd want to be that role." Like that was like, what a stupid question. I don't know. It was weird to me.
Yeah, man, it's just sometimes you need to put something on the papers.
It was just a really
It's
weird
as
question.
simple as that. Because I get what they mean. It's more like, I guess what they're trying to say is more like you've been saying he's a gadget player, so they're trying to say the Tyreek gadget role. Because if you're saying, do you want the Tyreek role? That's just straight number one wide receiver. And people forget we got Mike Kafka from the
Kansas City.
excuse me, from Kansas City front office. So we're gonna be running similar kinds of offensive schemes because the Bills' offensive scheme and Kansas City's offensive scheme are similar. And since we have Dable and Kafka clicking, which by the way is another report I've been reading coming out of minicamp, is they're clicking very, very well. So it's you know I'm not going to be upset if I start seeing him doing some end rounds or just going deep or crazy slants where somehow 1,000 screens from other wide receivers opens up the field for the gadget player, because we've seen what the kid got. If it's not him, we've seen Kadarius Toney, who maybe it's all smoke. Maybe Tony is the hill guy and they're just saying Wandel Robinson to get eyes perking up. But I'm excited to see what either one of these gadget players do.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, Kafka and Dabble are both all really offensive-minded guys. So to have as many weapons as possible, especially for Daniel Jones, a struggling quarterback, it's going to be necessary. You know what I mean? And I'm not mad seeing Wandell Robinson being a versatile playing, going end arounds, doing jet sweeps, running screens. I would love to see that, especially if it's an effective thing. You know what I mean? I like I said, it's so hard to value that until you see it kind of on the field. And I hope, you know what I mean? I hope he's the type of player that can just kind of be all over the field and play and get, you know what I mean, 1,000 to 1,500 yards, all scrimmage yards, you know what I mean, or all purpose yards. I hope that happens. I think that'd be great. You know what I mean? I don't see it happening though. So we'll see in the future. I hope I'm proven wrong. But another dude that's looked amazing kind of at a rookie camp and has looked really good is Daniel Bellinger, who's looked like a
Yes.
very good pass catcher. He's looked really athletic apparently in the field, known as more of a blocking tight end in college. So it's kind of great to see what he is doing and having a potentially a good tight end other than Evan Ingram, or, you know what I mean, a tight end that really couldn't catch the ball, really couldn't run routes, and couldn't block anything. You know what I mean? So have a tight end that kind of do be a jack of all trades would be awesome for sure.
It's not even a jack of all trades. I just want a tight end with hands I can trust, because that's what you
Yeah.
liked about Kyle Rudolph, but he got no separation, and even with the big body, he was old where you couldn't throw it up and hope he'd get it. I just want a tight end where if I put it in your hands, I know you're gonna hold it, and
Mhm.
because that cost us wins last year with Evan Ingram. If not last year, 2 years ago, the Eagles game where literally it was a perfect bread in the basket, and it was just like he ate popcorn. Ball slipped right out.
Done,
But
Birkin.
aside from Bellinger, I'm also hearing good things about this undrafted free agent that we signed. What's his name? Just Sean Corbin, I think it's pronounced. He's running back, and he's looking good. He's athletic, quick twitch. He's doing great in individuals. He's 6'1", 221 running back. That's kind of, I feel like, if he's a power back, that would be the perfect hand in hand kind of quarterback to running back to go with Saquon Barkley. As much as as talented and as much as I love Saquon, he's not a bruiser at all. And I've been saying this for years. It might be the ACL, it might have been the ankle, whatever injury it was. Even before the injuries, he never was a north and south player. He was always looking for the home run guy, which is why those yards per carry was always high, because he might get you only 1 yard, 2 yards every 3 carries, but then that fourth one, he's going to end up getting 40, which stretches out the average. If you could get someone who's a solid, just, pounding back, who could get in through the end zone, or goal in 1, goal in 2, which you've seen Barkley struggle with that, because those are terrible for those guys who like going west and east to try and create something on the side because you have no space. If we could get a bruiser, which Jashaun Corbin is, and he's actually been doing great coming out of the backfield as a receiver. Hey, man, I'm just hoping we see a great running back tandem and just some more weapons here. I hope we don't see the Jason Garrett offensive scheme. Like you said, I
Ben
can't wait to
McAdoo,
see
three wide
Kafka,
receivers.
Dable. Exactly. Just,
Uh,
I don't want predictability. As simple as that.
Yeah, I mean, dude, after Saquon Barkley, our whole running back room is kind of a question mark. Matt Breida is okay. He was okay in San Francisco. Didn't really amount to anything in Miami. Gary Brightwell is nothing to me, honestly. I barely remember when he got drafted last year. So this running room is wide open. There's so much room for kind of competition. And if Corbin kind of prove himself, get that deal, and work his way into the onto the depth chart, I would love to see it. And I remember reading his interview a couple of days ago, or yesterday when it was. But he said, he's like, I am a physical player. I play with an anger to me, and but I can make moves in the open field and kind of thread the needle around there too. And I love to hear that. I like a player that's willing to play physical and wants to be angry and run angry. That's what a running back needs to do. They need to run angry, They need to be willing to get hit and kind of lay their body in for those extra 3-4 yards every carry. And that's what you want to see. And if he can do that, he can run angry for us on a couple plays every game. I'd love to see it.
There's nothing like just running like a mad dog out the gates. That was what made people love Marshawn Lynch, The whole
Marshawn. Oh, Marshawn.
Aside from that, man, you got Kayvon Thibodeau being the class clown. Apparently, I've heard some good things during interviews where it's really showing his leadership. And they stuck Evan Neal right there at right tackle. He's going against bigger, more athletic guys than he would have in Alabama. But, training camp so far, he's looking good from what he's saying. So I'm excited, man. There's a lot going on. Hopefully we added 2 leaders in the locker room with those last 2 guys. Other than that, you got any other last minute news you want to throw in here for the fans?
No, I think we covered everything. I just want, like I always say, fans need to temper their expectations for this year. You need to relax, calm down. It's okay if we don't win 6 to 8 games. If we do, that's awesome. It's not going to be that beneficial. And I think when we do win closer to 3-4 games, I think fans really need to just calm down, slow the roll, and give this team and this new front office time to breathe.
You know what, man? I can't argue that any better. Like you said, it's like fine wine. You just gotta let it breathe. You open the bottle.
Yeah, literally, let it breathe. Let it take its time.
That's it. So this is Bars and Jake from Bunts and Bruises. Jake the Snake. Thank you guys once again for tuning into episode 3 of Big Blue Bodega. Please, for this episode, we ask you guys if you can do us a favor. Make sure you follow Bunts and Bruises Twitter page. Keep catching all these updates of Big Blue Bodega. We're dropping episodes as much as we can whenever something comes in the Giant sphere. Keep your eyes open, but make sure you hit that follow button on Twitter. That's Bunts and Bruises. Until next time, guys. Peace.